Lena was a lively 6-year-old girl who loved to laugh and play with her dolls. She adored her mother, who worked long hours to provide for her. Lena's father had left when she was very young, so it was just the two of them in their small cozy home. But recently, things had changed. Lena's uncle, Dan, her mother's younger brother, had moved in after losing his job. Her mother loved Uncle Dan and trusted him. He was fun and often helped Lena with her homework or played with her after school. At first, Lena liked having her uncle around, but over time, things started to feel strange. One night, after her mother had tucked her into bed, Lena was lying in the dark, hugging her favorite stuffed rabbit. The door to her room cracked open and Uncle Dan stepped inside. "Hi, dear, little Lena," he said softly, sitting down on the edge of her bed. "Are you sleeping yet?" Lena shook her head, wondering why he was in her room. He hadn't come to say good night before. "I want to teach you something," Uncle Dan said, leaning closer. "Something only big girls know." Lena felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She didn't like the way he said that. "I don't want to," she whispered, pulling her blanket up around her. But Uncle Dan moved closer, his hand resting on her shoulder. "It's okay," he whispered. "It will be our little secret. You don't need to tell anyone." Lena's heart began to race. She didn't understand everything, but she knew something wasn't right. She didn't want this, whatever it was, as Uncle Dan touched her in ways that made her feel uncomfortable. She began to cry softly. "Please stop, Uncle Dan," she whispered, but he kept going, showing her and telling her to be quiet. The night kept getting worse. Every time Lena went to bed, she would lie awake after hearing her door open. She didn't feel safe in her own room anymore. Uncle Dan would come in, telling her not to make noise and that if she told anyone, no one would believe her. "Your mom loves me," he would say. "She will be angry with you if you tell." Lena started to believe him. She became quieter during the day, stopped playing with her dolls, and hardly smiled anymore. She didn't know how to explain what was happening to her, and the fear of upsetting her mother made her keep the secret. One afternoon, Lena was sitting on the floor in her room, staring at her favorite doll without playing with it. Her mother noticed something was wrong. Lena wasn't her usual happy self anymore. She had become withdrawn, and her mother didn't know why. "Lena, sweetheart," her mother said gently, kneeling beside her. "What's going on? You have been so quiet lately." Lena didn't answer. She remembered Uncle Dan's warning. No one would believe you. But deep down, she wanted to tell her mother. She needed help. She didn't want to feel afraid anymore. Her mother reached out, stroking Lena's hair softly. "You can tell me anything, my love. You know that, right? Whatever is bothering you, I am here for you." Tears welled up in Lena's eyes. She didn't want to hide anymore. She looked up at her mother, her voice trembling as she whispered, "Mommy, Uncle Dan, he hurts me." Her mother's face changed instantly. She looked shocked, not understanding at first. "What do you mean, baby? What does Uncle Dan do?" Lena's hand shook as she tried to explain. "At night, he comes to my room and he touches me. He says it's a secret." Her mother's heart broke as she realized what Lena was saying. Her mind swelled with disbelief and anger. She had trusted her brother, welcomed him into their home, and now he had hurt her child. Tears filled her eyes as she pulled Lena into her arms, holding her tightly. "I am so sorry, baby," she whispered. "I didn't know, but I promise you I will make sure this never happens again." That night, Lena's mother called the police. Uncle Dan was taken away and Lena never had to see him again. The house felt empty without him, but the heaviness in the air was gone. Lena's mother couldn't believe what had happened, but she was determined to protect her daughter from ever being hurt again. The days that followed were difficult. Lena had to talk to police officers and social workers about what had happened, which wasn't easy for her. But her mother stayed by her side, holding her hand and assuring her that she was safe now. Lena still felt scared sometimes, but knowing her mother believed her and had taken action made her feel better. Over time, with the help of her mother and a counselor, Lena began to heal. She learned that what Uncle Dan had done was wrong and it wasn't her fault. She also learned that it was okay to speak up when something was wrong, even if it was hard. Her mother too learned to be more protective and aware. She realized how important it was to listen to her daughter and pay attention to any changes in her behavior. They both learned that being brave didn't mean not being afraid. It meant speaking out even when it was scary. Together, they moved forward, growing stronger and learning to trust each other more than ever. Lena knew that no matter what, she could always count on her mother, and her mother promised. The end.